Welcome to the 700 Club, and thanks so much for joining with us. We're going straight to Israel today, and the message, don't test President Trump. That's the warning to Hamas from the U.S. Special Envoy to the Middle East as the president pushes for the release of the remaining hostages.
Meanwhile, Hamas is threatening to execute hostages if Israel launches new military attacks in Gaza. Chuck Holton brings us the story from Jerusalem.
Officials say negotiations center on the safe return of 24 hostages, still believed to be alive, particularly Israeli-American Adon Alexander, along with the bodies of at least 35 others.
We feel that Hamas has not been forthright with us, and it's time for them to be forthright with us. The president has issued a statement about what's acceptable to him and what's not.
While the U.S. pursues diplomatic talks, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is reportedly unhappy about the effort. Sources close to his office say he fears it could undercut Israel's war effort and pressure to force Hamas surrender.
They have 59 hostages, of which many of them are killed. And those 24 that are living, they said they're in very bad shape.
Meanwhile, Hamas has issued a threat, saying it'll execute hostages if Israel resumes its military offensive in Gaza. But the Trump administration is adamant, and some form of joint U.S. military involvement with Israel may not be off the table.
I think it's fairly clear he was saying, I've had enough. I wouldn't test President Trump.
Witkoff says the brutality hostages endured has only strengthened Trump's resolve.
There's a lot of conversation among these hostages about the deprivation that they went through, about murders that they saw. And I think that the president listened to it, absorbed it, and said, it's unacceptable. I'm not going to tolerate this type of behavior.
The administration has not disclosed what action it may take next, but Trump is determined the U.S. will not back down.
We want to see these hostages come home. We're not going to sit here, do nothing, and tolerate these inhumane conditions. They've lived in a terrible situation. By the way, who keeps dead bodies? Who does that? Who keeps people chained up downstairs? Who murders in front of other hostages? What's happened here is intolerable.
The administration says Hamas cannot remain in power in Gaza. With time running out and no breakthrough yet, the next move belongs to Hamas, and the world is watching. Chuck Holton, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Well, we shouldn't watch any longer. It's time for action in Gaza, and it's been past time for it. Pay attention to what Hamas is saying, and pay attention to what the clerics, the Muslim clerics, are saying and what they're praying in their mosques. They're asking Allah to number the Jews so that they could be killed. That's their reaction to the events. And this isn't some far-off time. This is just in the past few weeks. When you look at the charter of Hamas, that charter calls for the eradication of Israel. That's their purpose for being. And to somehow expect them to say, well, now we're going to give up all that ideology, we're not going to go through with those, we now want to live in peace with Israel, and we just want to govern Gaza. Well, that's not their goal, that's not their aim. They don't believe that the Jews are really people. They, on an ideological basis, say, well, they're descended from apes and pigs. It's okay for us to kill them. That's why you have a teenager, a Hamas warrior, and after he executes people, he calls his parents to have them congratulate him. And he starts boasting about the number of Jews that he's killed. That's what we're facing here. Let's believe that's what we're facing, and let's act accordingly.